They laughed when he walked in. Grease-stained coveralls, weathered hands, no fancy degree. Just a shed mechanic among men with PhDs and medals. They thought they knew engineering. What they didn't know? He once saved an entire platoon with nothing but duct tape and instinct. Now he's back. And the million-dollar tank they couldn't fix? He does it in minutes. No fanfare, just facts. Stick around. The fallout is coming, and reputations are about to shatter like cheap steel. Let us know where you're watching from and what time you discovered this video. We read all comments. Dr. James Carson strides across the gleaming hangar floor, his polished shoes clicking against steel with metronomic precision. The disabled M1 Abrams tank looms behind him like a fallen titan, its presence a silent challenge to his authority. His golden engineering ring catches the fluorescent light as he adjusts his immaculate uniform, a ritual of control he's perfected over 2 decades. As I've explained to the General, Dr. James Carson announces to the assembled military brass, his voice carrying the weight of 3 PhDs, this is a sophisticated engineering challenge requiring advanced expertise. The corners of his mouth twitch upward as he surveys the impressive collection of medals and stars before him. These are his people, the educated elite. Then it happens. Colonel Richards, usually so reliable, clears his throat. Dr. James Carson, we'd like to bring in Charles Rayner. He has extensive field experience with these tanks in combat conditions. The words hit like a physical blow. Dr. James Carson's fingers instinctively touch his engineering ring, twisting it once, twice. Charles Rayner? The mechanic who operates out of a converted shed? He doesn't bother hiding his contempt. The very suggestion is an insult to everything he's built. A lieutenant near the back shifts uncomfortably, smartphone partially visible in his hands. Dr. James Carson notices but dismisses it. What harm could a junior officer's recording do? Let me be absolutely clear, he continues, moving closer to the tank, his voice sharp enough to cut steel. We don't need some grease monkey with a wrench set to tell us how to fix a $4.2 million piece of military hardware. The hangar falls silent, except for the soft whir of ventilation fans. Dr. James Carson savors the moment, until he notices something that makes his confidence waver for just a heartbeat. Charles Rayner himself, standing in the hangar's entrance, his weathered face unreadable, his combat medals visible on his old uniform jacket. But Dr. James Carson hasn't spent 20 years climbing the ranks to be challenged now. He straightens his already perfect posture. Mr. Rayner, I'm afraid you've wasted a trip. We have 3 PhD engineers here already. This isn't a job for... He pauses for effect. Amateur mechanics. The silence that follows feels different now. Heavy. Charged. The lieutenant's phone is definitely recording, and others have their devices out too. Charles Rayner simply walks forward, his gait steady with the confidence of someone who's faced worse than academic arrogance. That tank, Charles Rayner says quietly, pointing to a specific panel, has a hairline stress fracture that your diagnostics won't catch. I've seen it kill 3 good men. Dr. James Carson's laugh echoes through the hangar. Absolutely ridiculous. I designed the diagnostic systems myself. He turns to the assembled officers. This is exactly why we can't allow unqualified personnel to... The sharp crack of metal splitting interrupts him. Every head turns toward the tank, where a thin line appears exactly where Charles Rayner indicated. Dr. James Carson feels the first trickle of cold sweat down his spine. Within hours, Hatch Carson fails trends on military forums. By evening, the video of his dismissal of Charles Rayner, followed by the veteran's immediate diagnosis, has hundreds of thousands of views. Dr. James Carson sits alone in his office, staring at his engineering ring, wondering, when did credentials become more important than competence? Type humbled if you've ever seen arrogance fall before real experience. His inner reflection burns. 20 years building my reputation, 3 PhDs, countless accolades, and now I'm watching it all unravel because I couldn't accept that knowledge comes in forms beyond university degrees. What happens when the world discovers this isn't the first time I've dismissed expertise that didn't match my definition of qualified. The question hangs in the air like smoke. How many other Charles Rayners has Dr. James Carson silenced in his quest for academic supremacy? And more importantly, what will it cost him when they all start speaking up? Dr. James Carson's manicured fingers drum against his mahogany desk as he scours Charles Rayner's personnel file for the 3rd time. Each page turn, feeding his mounting frustration, 20 years of military engineering excellence, and now they want him to consider the opinion of someone who learned tank mechanics in a garage? The very thought makes his engineering ring feel like a lead weight on his finger. Sir, the base commander sent over Rayner's field performance records, Lieutenant Zhang announces, placing another stack of papers on the desk. Carson barely acknowledges her, his eyes fixed on a particularly offensive line in Rayner's file. Exceptional intuitive understanding of mechanical systems. Intuitive, Carson scoffs, the word bitter on his tongue. Show me the equation for intuition, Lieutenant. Show me where that fits into proper engineering methodology. He adjusts his Swiss watch, a graduation gift from MIT, its precise ticking a reminder of everything he stands for: precision, credentials, proven expertise. The afternoon sun streams through his office window, catching the framed degrees on his wall. Harvard, MIT, Stanford. Each one earned through rigorous study, countless sleepless nights, and unwavering dedication to scientific principles. Yet here sits this file, mocking everything he's achieved. Carson pulls up the security footage from this morning's demonstration, his jaw clenching as he watches Rayner point out potential stress points in the new tank design. The veteran's calloused hands had moved over the metal with disturbing confidence, identifying issues that Carson's team had somehow missed in months of computational analysis. Have you seen the latest simulation results? Carson asks Zhang, his voice tight with controlled anger. She hesitates, and that pause tells him everything. They match Rayner's predictions, don't they? Yes, sir. The stress fractures appear exactly where he indicated. The materials science team confirms. Out! The word cuts through the air like a blade. Once alone, Carson opens his bottom drawer, removing a worn journal, his first engineering notebook from graduate school. Inside, his mentor's words still shine in red ink. Theory without practice is blind, but practice without theory is dangerous. An email notification pulls his attention back to the present. The subject line makes his blood run cold. Emergency Review Board. Tank Project Timeline. Carson's fingers trace the smooth surface of his engineering ring, a symbol of professional obligation and ethical responsibility. The metal feels unusually cold against his skin. His computer screen flickers with incoming data. Stress analyses, material fatigue projections, cost overruns. Each graph, each spreadsheet seems to whisper Rayner's name. The veteran's intuitive warnings, dismissed this morning with academic arrogance, now stare back at him through the language of pure mathematics. Sir? Zhang's voice returns, tentative. The review board needs your immediate response about implementing Rayner's suggestions. Carson's reflection in the blank screen shows a man he barely recognizes, uncertainty creeping into eyes that once held only absolute conviction. His engineering ring catches the light, reminding him of the day he received it, of the pride in his voice as he recited the obligation. My time and professional reputation shall be devoted to the advancement of human welfare. The irony tastes like ash in his mouth. Type, pride blinds, if you've ever had to question your deepest beliefs. His computer pings again. Another email, this time from the base commander. Dr. Carson, regarding this morning's demonstration and Mr. Rayner's observations. The cursor blinks accusingly, waiting for a response that would either validate his lifelong dedication to academic excellence or admit that perhaps, just perhaps, there's more to engineering than what can be learned in a classroom. The Swiss watch ticks on, each second carrying away another fragment of his certainty. Carson opens Rayner's file one more time, but now he sees something different in those pages of practical experience. Each repair, each field modification, each intuitive solution represents something his degrees couldn't teach him. Reality of machines under stress, of metal and rubber and human lives, all hanging in the balance. Human welfare, he whispers, touching his ring again. Not professional pride. The review board meeting starts in 30 minutes. Dr. James Carson, decorated military engineer, holder of 3 advanced degrees, sits in his pristine office, surrounded by the symbols of his expertise, facing a choice that will either preserve his reputation or potentially save lives. His engineering ring has never felt heavier. The morning sun glints off Dr. James Carson's pristine lab coat as he watches, jaw clenched, while Charles Rayner continues his unorthodox inspection. Carson's fingers drum against his clipboard with increasing intensity, each tap echoing his mounting anxiety. The social media notifications keep buzzing in his pocket. Tank Whisperer is spreading like wildfire across the base's networks, and worse, it's starting to hit civilian platforms. This is completely irregular, Carson mutters, but his protests sound hollow even to his own ears as Rayner's methodical work draws an ever-growing crowd. The veteran's hands move with practiced precision, finding flaws that Carson's state-of-the-art diagnostics somehow missed. Each soft ping of Rayner's knuckles against the hull feels like a personal assault on Carson's credentials. Carson's prestigious engineering ring, his symbol of academic superiority, suddenly feels heavy on his finger. He catches his reflection in the tank's polished surface, his perfectly pressed coat now wrinkled with stress, his usually confident posture betraying his unease. The whispers around him grow more pointed. The PhD missed what the sergeant found in minutes. His phone buzzes again. The base commander wants an immediate explanation for why the demonstration failed. Carson's stomach churns as he reads the message. Viral video of equipment failure reaching mainstream media. Explain how a veteran without credentials spotted this before our chief engineer. The ring catches on his clipboard again as Carson frantically scrolls through his social media feeds. Videos of his earlier dismissal of Rayner are being shared alongside clips of the veteran's precise diagnosis. The contrast is devastating. Carson's academic arrogance versus Rayner's quiet competence. Sir, a junior engineer approaches hesitantly, tablet in hand. The maintenance log Sergeant Rayner requested? They confirm his assessment. The mounting base irregularity he detected by sound. It matches a pattern we've been missing for months. Carson feels the weight of eyes on him as more personnel gather to watch Rayner work. The veteran hasn't said a word since beginning his inspection, but his silence speaks volumes. Each methodical movement further erodes Carson's authority, his carefully constructed world of theoretical superiority crumbling in the face of practical experience. The base's social media manager approaches with concern etched on her face. Tank Whisperer is trending nationally now, Dr. Carson. Major news networks are picking up the story. They're calling it Credentials versus Combat Experience. Carson clutches his engineering ring, the symbol of his professional pride now feeling like a shackle. Have you felt your expertise slipping through your fingers? The thought hits him like a physical blow as he watches Rayner complete his inspection. The veteran's quiet confidence a stark contrast to Carson's growing panic. The crowd's murmurs reach a crescendo as Rayner finally stands, wiping his hands on his worn fatigue pants. He doesn't need to speak. The proper diagnosis is already spreading through the gathered personnel, confirmed by the very diagnostic equipment Carson had insisted was infallible. Type: experience matters. If you've ever seen pride come before a fall, the base's social media channels prompt, generating thousands of responses within minutes. Carson's phone won't stop buzzing now. Colleagues from other military installations, former professors, even the dean of his engineering school, all wanting explanations. The viral spread of his professional humiliation feels unstoppable. Each notification another crack in his carefully constructed facade of academic superiority. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the tank yard, Carson realizes with growing dread that this is only the beginning. Tomorrow's scheduled congressional review of military engineering protocols looms like a gathering storm, and now, thanks to #Tank Whisperer, all eyes will be on the clash between theoretical knowledge and practical experience, with him cast as the villain of the story. Dr. James Carson's hands tremble as he stares at the damning data scrolling across his monitor. The micro-vibration readings are undeniable, matching exactly what Charles Rayner had desperately tried to tell him 12 hours ago. The veteran's words echo in his mind, haunting him. The mounting base will fail catastrophically under sustained fire. The prestigious engineering ring on Dr. James Carson's finger, once a symbol of his superiority, now feels like a burning reminder of his arrogance. He twists it obsessively, watching the titanium catch the harsh fluorescent light of his office. Outside, he can hear the murmur of his colleagues reviewing Rayner's findings, their voices tinged with growing respect for the veteran's practical wisdom. Dr. James Carson? His assistant's voice cracks through the intercom. General Matthews requests your immediate presence in the demonstration hall. They're running a live test of Rayner's solution. The walk to the hall feels like a march to his own professional execution. Each step echoes against the polished floors, punctuated by the sound of his engineering ring clicking against his ID badge as he fidgets with both. The same hall where he had dismissed Rayner now looms before him, filled with brass and engineers alike. The tank sits in the center, its mounting base modified according to Rayner's specifications. So elegant, so simple. Dr. James Carson watches, throat tight, as the diagnostic equipment comes online. The readings appear on the massive screens, pristine, stable, perfect. No micro-vibrations, no potential for catastrophic failure. Your assessment, Dr. Carson? General Matthews's voice carries a hint of steel. Dr. James Carson feels the weight of every eye in the room. His carefully constructed world of theoretical perfection cracks like thin ice. The modification is sound, he manages, each word tasting like bitter medicine. Mr. Rayner's field experience identified a critical flaw our standard tests would have missed. His solution is ingenious in its simplicity. The room erupts in approving murmurs. Carson Concedes begins trending within minutes as junior engineers tweet the unprecedented admission. Dr. James Carson watches his phone light up with notifications, each one another crack in his facade of academic superiority. Type, "Respect if you believe experience trumps theory," scrolls across the bottom of a live streaming screen someone has set up in the corner. Rayner stands quietly by the tank, his weathered hands resting on the modified mounting base. Dr. James Carson approaches him, removing his engineering ring, the symbol of his profession's highest achievements. "I was wrong," he says, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Theory without practical experience is like a map without a compass." The silence in the hall is deafening. Then someone starts clapping. The sound builds like a wave, but Dr. James Carson barely hears it. He's focused on Rayner's extended hand and the lesson that will define the rest of his career. True expertise comes in many forms, and arrogance is the enemy of innovation. "The tank demonstration continues tomorrow," General Matthews announces, with both Dr. Carson and Mr. Rayner leading the team. Dr. James Carson nods, his engineering ring now sitting in his pocket instead of on his finger. For the first time in his career, he feels like he might actually learn something new. Dr. James Carson stands in the vast military hangar, the weight of 20 years of pride and prejudice finally lifting from his shoulders. The same fluorescent lights that had illuminated his arrogance yesterday now expose every crack in his carefully constructed facade. His engineering ring feels like lead on his finger, a symbol that had once represented everything he thought he knew about superiority and expertise. The viral footage of his earlier dismissal of Charles "Chuck" Rayner plays on screens throughout the facility, his own condescending voice echoing. A degree from MIT carries more weight than grease under fingernails. The hashtag #CarsonLearns has exploded across social media, but for once, he doesn't feel the sting of humiliation. Instead, there's a strange peace in surrender. Carson approaches Rayner slowly, intentionally. The veteran's scarred hands rest on the now repaired tank engine, the same engine Carson had insisted was beyond salvation. Those hands tell a story 20 years of theoretical calculations never could. Each callus marks a lesson learned not in lecture halls, but in the unforgiving classroom of experience. "I've spent my entire career believing that knowledge only flows one way, from the top down," Carson announces, his voice carrying across the hushed hangar. His fingers trace the smooth surface of his engineering ring one last time. "But true expertise isn't measured by the degrees on our walls or the titles before our names." With trembling hands, Carson removes the ring that has defined his identity for 2 decades. The small metal circle catches the light as he holds it up. "This ring symbolized everything I thought I knew about engineering. But yesterday, Mr. Rayner taught me that real engineering happens in the field, in the struggle, in the moments when theory meets reality." The crowd watches in stunned silence as Carson extends his hand to Rayner. "Your hands may be marked by grease, but they carry wisdom my textbooks never contained. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." The sound of his ring placing onto the workbench echoes through the hangar, a small sound that marks an enormous shift. One by one, other engineers in the crowd remove their rings too, laying them beside Carson's in a growing testament to humility and respect. Type "wisdom" in the comments if you've ever learned that true knowledge comes from unexpected sources. Carson turns to face the assembled crowd, his voice stronger now. We've created a system that values certificates over capability, that dismisses experience in favor of education. Today, that changes. Mr. Rayner will be leading our new practical engineering initiative, where field experience and academic knowledge work together. The applause starts slowly, then builds to a thunderous roar. Carson watches as Rayner's weather-worn face breaks into a slight smile, and for the first time, he truly sees the man behind the grease-stained coveralls, a master of his craft, deserving of every ounce of respect. Sometimes, Carson reflects, his voice carrying over the diminishing applause, the greatest achievement isn't in proving yourself right, but in admitting when you're wrong. The future of engineering isn't in ivory towers. It's in the harmony between theory and practice, between education and experience. As the hangar lights dim, Carson's engineering ring remains on the workbench, no longer a symbol of superiority, but a reminder that the greatest lessons often come from the most unexpected teachers. In its place, he carries something far more valuable, the understanding that expertise wears many faces and wisdom flows from many sources. The security footage from yesterday's confrontation will remain in the military's training archives, not as a testament to Carson's fall, but as proof of his greatest achievement, the day he learned that sometimes the most qualified person in the room isn't the one with the most impressive title. Drop 1 if this story changed how you think about true expertise.